Hey everyone, today we're looking at Mists of Pandaria Classic. We're currently in the Throne of Thunder raid. It's been out for maybe 2, 3 lockouts now, and we're going to be looking at Demonology Warlock. Just a little bit of an intro. We're going to be going over talents, glyphs, stat prio, add-ons that I use. I use a lot of weak auras, so we'll kind of go over those a little bit, and then we'll go into my kind of standard single target opener. Demonic Fury management is a really important one, so we'll go over that right before we get into kind of the general play style. And then at the end we'll wrap up and go over some AoE situations and a couple of the heroic bosses in Throne of Thunder. My guild has currently killed Genrock and Horadon, and we're working on we have some pulls on Iron Con, and then it sounds like we'll be doing Elk Council and Megara next. So jumping right into it, looking at the talents, these are kind of the overall blanket talents that you'll see for Demonology Warlock. I see some Destruction Warlocks using KJs, Cunning here, but overall KJs is not good for Demo because when we're in demon form, most of our spells are instant. The only one we'll hardcast is Soulfire. Looking into specific instances, the only talent changes I'll actually see is using Unbound Will on Genrock instead of Burning Rush. So now we're going to be looking into glyphs. The three major glyphs you're going to want to use in Raid are going to be the Eternal Resolve, Imp Swarm, and Siphon Life. Eternal Resolve is really good because you'll start having 3-minute dooms, and it will only reduce their damage by 20%. Even with the recent damage nerf to Doom, it's not a big deal. The important thing is that you get a 100% crit rating Doom up with the Unerring Vision of Shen trinket, and have a 3-minute Doom where every single one of your Dooms is going to generate a new wild imp, and that's where the bulk of your damage is going to be coming from is wild imps. Jumping into the next one, Imp Swarm. Wild imps are huge as part of your rotation, and this one I'm kind of curious why it's not just built into Demonology as a blanket ability, but what it does is it just summons 5 wild imps, so it's really good for getting Demonic Fury generated, and wild imps are a major part of your damage. Glyph of Siphon Life, pretty much every Warlock spec uses this one. Just corruption heals you. That's pretty much it. Looking into minor glyphs, in Raid I actually run this Glyph of Soul Well so that my raiders can actually see the Soul Well when I drop it. Shadow Bolt is just a cosmetic one. It makes Shadow Bolt look cool. And then Carrion Swarm is pretty important for fights like Horadon, where you're going to be AoE interrupting all like the ads pretty much on cooldown. Carrion Swarm is really OP on that fight. And then jumping into dungeons and general other things, the only difference is you're not going to be using this Glyph of Eternal Resolve because fights are only going to last about a minute max. Instead, you could either run Glyph of Life Tap. That's really good. Now that we've kind of gone over kind of basic talents and glyphs, let's go over stat prio. I'm going to be looking at specific breakpoints for Doom. Overall, I'm 521 item level. If you're a little bit lower, only go for the single Doom haste breakpoint. But for me right now and moving forward to the end of this patch, you're going to be wanting to go for the double Doom haste breakpoint, which is 8064 is the exact rating. I'm 8100. It's close enough. Obviously, you're going to want to be hitting 15% hit, and so your stat prio is going to be haste to 8064, then mastery, and then more haste, and crit is kind of just the worst stat for Demo by far. You want a lot of haste and even more mastery. And these are kind of pre levels we're looking at here. Once we get further into the patch and we start getting more heroic gear, we'll be looking at 8100 haste and hopefully 12 to 13k mastery towards the end. Jumping into what overall add-ons we use, I'm a huge fan of weak auras. That's probably the main add-on I use, and then details, damage meters. Those are the two major rating add-ons that I utilize. On Virtuosos, new weak aura that you can download just straight from weak aura's website. It shows the procs per minute proc chance, so it'll ramp from 0% all the way to 100%, and that's based on Blizzard's procs per minute algorithm, which kind of gives you a higher chance of procking based on how long it's been since your last proc chance, versus previously trinkets used kind of a ICD with a chance to proc. Going into the actual weak auras specifically, this one, like I said, you could just download straight from the weak aura's website, and it has it for all Warlock spec. I like this one more than the Foji Warlock because he actually plays Warlock, and one thing to note is to adjust the group scale to kind of what you want to play with, because when you first import it, it's absolutely massive on a 1.0 group scale for my specific UI. I just use typically the standard Blizzard UI. And then the other weak auras I'd recommend is the Foji weak aura. This is huge for raiding. My guild kind of just uses it exclusively. If you're not using Foji, obviously get DBM or Bigwigs or whatever you're used to playing with in raid. Here we're going to be looking at the Demo Warlock opener. One thing to note before we get this pull started is this Imp calling buff. This is a passive ability that every like 16 seconds or so, our Shadow Bolt, Soulfire, etc. will summon a free Fel Imp, and so it's very important that our initial Soulfire lands on the boss on pull, and we'll get essentially a free second Fel Imp on pull with that pre-Soulfire. And so kind of just before we get into it, looking at it, we're going to pre-pot at -5 seconds. We're going to Soulfire at -4, -4.5 seconds, something like that, to where the Soulfire will land on the boss on pull. And then we're going to jump into a Hand of Gul'dan to get that Shadow Flame and Demonic Fury generation started. We're going to pop Corruption to get that started. And then we're going to go into our pet abilities, so our Grimoire, Imp Swarm, Doom Guard, if you're going to pop it on pull. Here I pop it on pull because we're just doing some heroic attempts. We're just trying to kind of get past this first phase with our... After we pop those pet abilities, we're going to go back to Hand of Gul'dan, or use our second Hand of Gul'dan, pop our Dark Soul, go into Metamorphosis. Depending on what's going on with your Lei Shin trinket, your 100% crit trinket, if you get really lucky on procs, you're going to pop meta and then double Doom, which Corruption turns into Doom in Metamorphosis form. You're going to refresh with a touch of Chaos before going into your normal rotation and milking Soulfires. Let's get into watching this. So here you can see pre-pot, pre-Soulfire. Notice this Imp calling buff immediately comes back with the free Fel Imp right there. Got all my pet bars up, hog into double Doom. Well, I just single Doom to Soulfire, double Doom. And I got my touch of Chaos up also. And now we're just kind of milking Soulfires, and we'll go into a normal rotation. So now that we're kind of out of the intro, we're starting to hoard some Demonic Fury. I put the single target human form ability prio up on screen, so you want to make sure you have Corruption active, Hand of Gul'dan on cooldown. If you have 5+ Molten Core stacks, which is kind of unlikely, you can Soulfire and then Shadow Bolt, and then sub 25%. You're never going to be Shadow Bolting, you're only going to be Soulfiring. Demonic Fury is interesting. It's very difficult to manage, but it's also very similar to Destruction Warlock in the sense of if you get Intellect Trinket procs, you want to jump into Demode form, dump Fury. If you don't have any active Intellect procs or Trinket procs or whatever, there's no reason to be in Demo form, and at that point you can just hoard Fury, similar to Embers. Don't let your Demonic Fury cap out. And here's where I pop all my cooldowns and get some nice dooms rolling on both Iron Con and Quetzal. So I'll pop some good Soulfires, get those going. Here I probably should have stayed in Demon form longer and hit Soulfire a couple more times. but you know, no one's ever perfect. So now that we've seen some generic Demonology gameplay, let's jump ahead and we'll look at some more gameplay on Shen with some commentary, and then I have a commented Celestial Dungeon. Here we're going to do a Demo Warlock during Shen. If I remember this fight correctly, I got pretty unlucky with my Unerring Vision of Shen proccing during intermission. So I tried to get the pre-soul fire off here, and you can see my Imp Swarm went on an 8-second cooldown, but the timer just didn't work out. So here I'm really trying to get that double doom going. I got it. Now I'm just trying to go into the rest of the opener, baiting Thunderstorm. Just milk all that Demonic Fury while we can. Couple last soul fires. Okay, Thunderstruck spawned at a good spot for me. Now I'm going to move over, get in position for moving to the next platform. Here I'm really trying to make sure I'm in melee for if that this ability that you're about to see comes out. So the other Warlock in our group was kind of far away, so we just greeted towards the edge to not get stunned here. And now we're out to bait Thunderstruck, so it's a good amount of moving. I probably could have popped Demon Form and hit a couple of Touch of Chaoses, which are instant, to allow myself to cast a little bit. Here we are, we're not charging the platform because he was about to phase, and I'm assigned to purple here. You can see at the bottom my UVLS is getting close to proccing, which is a little aggravating, but it is what it is. And I think it does end up proccing during this intermission, which frustrates me a little bit. Yeah, there it goes. And I'm trying to target the boss, but the phase 2 timer doesn't necessarily line up with when the boss is active. Ooh, I got really lucky with that UVLS proc there. Here I should have popped my Demon Soul, but I messed up there a little bit and didn't. So now I'm just recharging some of my Demonic Fury. We're going to get another round of Ball Lightnings. We got to do the soaks. I'm having my pet kind of AoE those mobs down since I'm not doing an insane amount of AoE right now. And since I didn't pop DS there previously, that would have probably been another good time to pop DS. I think this is where I notice that I'm about to get my second charge of DS, which I typically never want to have happen unless I'm coming into a lust. So there I pop DS, I'm waiting on... And I don't know why, I think it's because my demon is Legion striking, but I was attempting to hit hit Fellstorm. And here we're going into the final intermission. I was purple both times, so I'm trying to position myself. Here I'm not sure what the range is on that. I was trying not to get stunned there. I'm pretty sure at this point I'm yelling for someone to heal Mio or for him to pop a health stone because he was like 15% health there, which is kind of scary. And I'm trying to get closer to a healer for some heals here. As you can see, I get really low there as well. And there's that UVLS proc that procced again during this phase, which I guess is just bound to happen. I guess I messed up at some point and overrode my crit doom. I didn't notice that, but that was a mistake. And this is where I wish I had conserved a little bit of Demonic Fury to AoE those ball lightnings down. Trying to bait Thunder, so I booted out to get it as far away as possible and then got back over next to the squad. Here we go, I pop my second DS here. Trying to get some AoE going. There's my Chaos Slash. And when you're sub 25%, you should pretty much never be shadow bolting unless you don't have a Soulfire proc for whatever reason. And I went over a couple raid bosses, so why not go through Celestial? Let's jump right in. Gotta summon the Felguard, drop cookies, all that good stuff. Grab Yu'lon, of course, we're a caster. I feel like a lot of tanks are now grabbing Yu'lon as well.